Hey, ladies, do you feel awkward standing out? Like being the center of attention or having to speak out? Does that make you feel icky? I know it did for me a lot. And I have some tips coming up on this episode of Unleash Your Audacious Confidence. So stick around to find out more.
The City of Miami Gardens presents JITG Music Fest. New edition. Tony Braxton. DJ Cassidy's Pass the Mic Live. Starring Ja Rule, Fat Joe, and Remy Ma. Slick Rick and Dougie Fresh. Beanie Man. Escape. Coco Jones. Kim. Also, a special set featuring Miss Lauryn Hill, Wyclef Jean, YG Marley, Busta Rhymes, Doechii, and many more. JITG Music Fest. March 8th and 9th at Hard Rock Stadium. Tickets at jazzinthegardens.com.
Welcome to Unleash Your Audacious Confidence on Win-Win Women TV. This show is all about sharing the tips, tools, and techniques that will allow you to step boldly in the direction of your dreams despite your feelings, fears, or past failures. To imagine what's possible for yourself and live the life you deserve. Well, welcome to this episode of Unleash Your Audacious Confidence here on Win-Win Women TV. I'm your host, Alicia Khoury, and on today's show, we are still tackling that pesky topic of visibility because I've noticed that so many women struggle. I used to struggle tremendously from being in front of a camera, speaking out, being in public, speaking on stage, anything that dealt with visibility, I was challenged with. I couldn't advocate for myself. I had, oh my gosh, I can't even begin to tell you all the challenges I had. But we're going to dive into that. But first, I want to tell you we have a summit coming up for International Women's Day here at Win Win Women. And go to winwinwomen.org and sign up to be a part of our International Women's Day Summit because we're going to have over 50 women, I believe, that are going to share over the course of the first week in March all this amazing information for you to get you on the path to success. So go to winwinwomen.org and sign up for that. All right. If you want to connect with me, go to RedCarpetCEO.com. Just go to RedCarpetCEO.com and sign up for more information about our shows. And we're doing something really incredible where every show now that we're going to do for you that I am going to share with you, I have an action guide. So you're not just going to get the information. We're going to encourage you to activate on this information and take action so that you can experience the shifts that you need to have in your life. All right. So today's topic, get noticed, how to stand out without feeling awkward. How to stand out without feeling awkward. First question I want to ask you is, have you ever felt embarrassed just being yourself? Might just be me, but I've had moments of being embarrassed of just being who I am. And I didn't really recognize it at all. And I didn't understand what that feeling was. But it was a feeling of being embarrassed to be who I was. I was embarrassed by the color of my skin. I was embarrassed by the texture of my hair. I was embarrassed by my teeth because I felt like my teeth were too big. I was embarrassed by my nose. I was embarrassed by the way I spoke, my voice, the sound of my voice, my accent. I was embarrassed by just being alive. And I'm not even exaggerating, and I'm not kidding. I don't know if you ever felt that. I don't know if you understand what that does to you, what that does to your psyche, what that feels like inside. There's such a deep feeling of unworthiness that we experience, and it's tied to imposter syndrome. It's tied to like I said, a self-worth. It's tied to whether or not we feel like we could be loved. It's tied to so many things. That sense of embarrassment of being ourselves, that sense of, I'm not good enough. And that came from a lot of different messages in my life growing up, a lot of different programming. If you've watched our shows, we talk about programming from like birth, that we're being programmed by our environment, by society, by our parents, by our teachers, by friends, frenemies, we're being, and now with social media, the impact of social media on our young girls, to feel this level of shame and embarrassment for themselves, it is epidemic. And so getting noticed and standing out becomes such a trigger, such a painful opportunity. We miss so many opportunities when we feel like this. And it is heartbreaking. And I don't want women, I don't want girls to ever feel this way. So, this is why I'm going to give you some tips today on how to shift feeling that, how to shift being afraid of stepping out and being into the spotlight, because it can be debilitating. It can be challenging, and it holds us back in so many ways that we can't even comprehend how much it holds us back. So if you've ever wanted to stand out or be noticed, but are afraid of judgment, so you resist standing out because you're afraid of being judged, I've been there. If you don't think that you're good enough, worthy enough, I've been there. If you know you need to speak out about something, even if it's to advocate for yourself, and you're worried about what other people might think, or you don't want to sound conceited, or that you're a know-it-all, or that you're like a B, or, and I say that the B word, or that you are a difficult, and you have a challenge advocating for yourself. You know, that one I had to really learn, because when I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2020, I didn't find it out because I almost didn't say something. I almost didn't say something in 2019 when I had some cysts drained from both of my breasts. I had 8 cysts drained, and I laid there on the table while they were draining the cysts, and I knew I had felt something else in my breasts, but I didn't say anything. And then I had a mammogram right after the procedure, and I still didn't say anything. And then I was laying on the ultrasound table because they needed to do an ultrasound after the procedure too. And I almost left there without saying something because I didn't want to be a bother. I thought it was nothing, so I didn't want to disturb the doctors about it. I didn't want to make them feel like I was being a difficult patient. Let them just do their job. And I almost missed it. But because I laid there on the table and the technician had completed doing the ultrasound, and she's like, okay, you're free to go. I finally advocated for myself, and I opened up my mouth and I said, you know what? I felt something else, because what they were looking for was to make sure that the cysts that were just drained were completely drained. They weren't looking for anything else. They weren't going to just accidentally come upon this because they weren't looking for it. And it was when I opened my mouth, because they didn't even during the ultrasound, during the mammogram, during the procedure, they never looked in that area at all. So before she left, cleaned everything up, I said, I felt something over here, which is where they weren't even looking. Can you just take a look at that and let me know what that looks like? Because it felt so tiny compared to these cysts that had been growing over a few months. Uh, it felt, I talk about it feeling like a grain of sea salt. That's how small it felt. So I thought, it can't be anything. And that ended up being a cancerous tumor that started growing in my breast. Had I not had the courage to open my mouth and say something, I felt awkward. I did. But I had a responsibility to me, and I had to overcome that feeling of awkwardness to really open my mouth and say something in that moment. And when the technician put the ultrasound over that small, tiny little mass, her face changed. And she said, hold on a minute, I need to get the radiologist, who then told me I needed to go get a biopsy. But because of COVID, I didn't have a biopsy until 2020. And by then, I had three tumors and they were malignant for breast cancer. But had I not said something in that moment, and this topic is get noticed. Had I not, number one, noticed it myself, but said something for someone to notice it, I don't know where I would be right now. This is the importance of learning how to step out, get noticed, advocate for yourself, uh, even if you feel awkward at first. So I know I said stand out without feeling awkward, but you might have to power through the awkwardness to get where you want to go. So let me give you a few steps to stand out and overcome this feeling of awkwardness. All right. So, step number one, we want to reflect. We want to go back through and reflect on why we feel so awkward, so that in the reflection we can reset our mindset. So, our first step is really about resetting our mindset. So, we're going to reflect on what it is so we can reset our mind. So, instead of, you know what, I feel awkward. I don't want to seem full of myself, or I don't want to, I don't want to feel icky about promoting myself, or instead of feeling that, why don't we shift our mindset to saying something like, I have a valuable insight, or I have a question that I think others have too, but they might not want to step out and say it. My children, so I have three children. So my children often say, I don't want to sound when they're in school like I'm asking a stupid question. And teachers always say there's no such thing as a stupid question, no such thing as a silly question. But we know sometimes there are stupid questions. And so they're always coming back and saying, I don't know if I should ask this question, because I'm always encouraging them to ask questions. Raise your hand and ask the question. And I tell them, I guarantee you there are others in the class that have that same question, but they're afraid to raise their hand. So you be the one. And when you are that one, you become an example. You become a leader. People start looking to you because you have the courage to step out and say what they're thinking, but they're afraid to say it. That's what this mindset shift needs to be. It needs to be, I know there are others who have this question, or I know there are others who are struggling with this. I'm going to be the one to step out and say something. I'm going to be the one to ask the question. I'm going to be the one to share my insight. If I did not step out and have a mindset shift while I was laying on that table to say, you know what? It seems like nothing to me, but I'm not a doctor. I don't know. I might as well ask, what harm could it be if it's nothing? What harm is it? Do I have to wait another 6 months before I go to, and I didn't even know COVID was coming. I would have had to wait a year before I had another mammogram ultrasound done. Did I have to wait another year? Who knows how much it would have grown by then had I not taken that step in that moment. So reset your mindset. Reset your mindset. So reflect on why you feel awkward. Why am I feeling this right now? And then shift your mindset. The second part of this is I want you to refocus on the impact that your words is going to have or that what you're about to do is going to have versus the approval from others. Because, yeah, we do that. We want approval. We want that uh, nod of agreement. We want people to like us. We sure do. We want people, we don't want to inconvenience anybody. So, how about we refocus on what is the impact of this? How is this going to help someone else? Back to raising your hand and asking a question. When you know, if I have this question, there are other people who have this question too. What is the impact of you stepping out and asking that question? So, I want you to ask yourself, who needs to hear this today? Or who do I think needs an answer to this question? It might not even be me. Sometimes I raise my hand and ask a question that I know the answer to, but I know others in the room probably don't. And so I ask the question for the benefit of others in the room, even though I know. So sometimes you can do it that way where it doesn't feel awkward. You don't sound like a know it all. You don't come across as, oh, here she is again, asking another question or raising her hand again. So we all know how brilliant she is. Ask it, say it in the form of a question so that other people who might have had that same wonder or thought, or maybe they didn't even think about that. They didn't even think to ask that question. But now that you've asked that question, it's opened up a whole new realm of possibilities for them. So don't be afraid to step out and ask it, do it in the form of asking a question. If saying it sounds awkward, especially if you're in a room and you know answers to a lot of the things that they're sharing in a meeting or in a session, and you keep raising your hand and people start going, oh my gosh, not again. Do it in the form of a question instead of having people know how brilliant you are. Asking the question still shares how brilliant you are, and it helps so many people when you do that. Uh, so I want you to really look at who needs to hear that today, because your voice is your expertise. And we're going to be giving you an action guide to this. So don't feel like you have to just keep taking notes and, oh my gosh, I didn't catch that. And we're going to give you an opportunity to download an action guide with all of this information. So don't fret, don't worry. I'll share that with you in a minute. And then the third step in this visibility without awkwardness, in this taking up your space without feeling awkward, getting seen, getting attention on you, is reclaiming that power. Reclaim the space. Like, stand there and say, okay, I'm going to own this space. And there's something that in my book, which is over my shoulder over here, Your Signature Style, I talk about Dr. Amy Cuddy, and she did a TED talk on power posing. If you've not seen her TED talk, you can go to TEDx and look for Dr. Amy Cuddy, or I talk about it in that book. The the power of power posing, the impact of power posing to ourselves, to our central nervous system, to our limbic system. What does power posing do? And power posing is just like there are several different power poses that you can adopt and that you can do before you go into a room to present or do something where you are like hands on your hips, standing tall, taking a deep breath in, how that that whole posture changes, shifts the atmosphere inside of you. But owning that space, doing these power poses helps you own that space. I remember when I was going to do my first big speech in front of business owners. There were like 100 and something business owners in the room. Now, I was used to be terrified of speaking in public. You know, public speaking still is like the number one fear over death. Like people are more afraid of public speaking than they are of dying. And so I was one of them. I used to be really afraid of stepping in front of anybody. I mean, the two of us could be sitting down having a conversation, and then suddenly have to stand up in front of you, or you put a camera in my face, and I would just, or a microphone in my face. And suddenly my heart would start racing, my throat would like clam up, my mouth would get dry, and I would feel like my brain, like all the blood would drain from my brain, and my brain would just be blank. I don't know what to say. And so power posing helped me. The first time I went on stage, I was off stage there doing my power poses, breathing in, calming down my nerves, telling myself that I am so excited to do this because it was the excitement that I was feeling, not the nerves. I was feeling the excitement of it. So I reframed that nerves. Oh, I'm so scared. I'm so nervous. To, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. I get to share this message with all these business owners. And that shifted the atmosphere inside of me. And I was able to go and I had some other tools that I leaned on, visualization and some other things, but I'm just saying like power posing off stage just helped center me. And then discover your voice, like find your voice. What do you have to say? What do you have that is worthy of sharing? You may just be talking with someone and they're like, oh my gosh, I never thought of it that way. Or you bring up such a brilliant point, or you ask such a great question. That means you have a point of view, you have a perspective, you have a story, and other people need to hear it. So you need to be able to craft your story in a way or understand the power of your story so that you can share it, so that you can share it with others. And when you stop looking at yourself and you turn that into how can I help someone else with this story, or help how can this resonate with someone else, then the awkwardness that you feel will go away, the embarrassment that you feel will go away, because now it's in service of someone else. It's no longer about you. It's about serving someone else. And that removes a lot of that embarrassment, that awkwardness from you when you're doing it for someone. So, in order to download the action guide to this and walk you through these steps, I want you to go to redcarpetceo.com/resource, RESOURCE, redcarpetceo.com/resource. And the link to this action guide will be there in addition to some other action guides. If you choose to download those two, you can go right ahead and download those too. But this one on get noticed, that's what it's going to be called. Get noticed. It's going to be the title of the show. Get noticed, how to stand out without feeling awkward. So download that action guide, do the exercises, and then join our Facebook group, Living with Audacious Confidence. Join that Facebook group so you can share how this exercise has helped you and how it's helped you get noticed, how it's helped you stand out, how it's helped you advocate for yourself. Because all those things are so vital to our success in this life. We need to learn how to advocate for ourselves. I hope this has been really helpful for you. Let me know. Connect with me on social media. If you want to connect with me, you can, of course, go to redcarpetceo.com. Our social media links are on that website as well. So you can just click on there and connect to my social channels, connect with me on those social networks. DM me Let me know if you're enjoying the show. Let me know if there's something, a topic that you would like me to cover or a guest you'd like me to have on. Let me know if you want to be a guest on the show. I would love to have you. And also, if you want to sponsor, if you own a business and you want your message to be shared, uh, you know, globally, you want your message to be shared more, we have sponsorship opportunities as well. So if you want to learn more about the show, recommend a guest, or be a sponsor, make sure to reach out to us and share. You can either join our Facebook group, Living with Audacious Confidence, or you can email us, support@aliciacurry.com. Go to redcarpetceo.com/resource, download the action guide to this, follow the steps. Let us know how you're doing, and I will see you on another episode of Unleash Your Audacious Confidence. So until then, be bold, be brave, and every day do one thing to step out and be seen, be heard, be visible. And until I see you again, this is Alicia Curry saying goodbye for now on Unleash Your Audacious Confidence here on Win Win Women TV. Mwah. Turnover. It's incredibly expensive for any organization, but especially those that are small and mid-size. If you're an organization and you're hiring, it's so important to get it right. You need to identify the right people for the right roles. Here at Audacious Concepts, Inc., we help you perfect your hiring process so you get it right every single time. Reach out to us at audaciousconceptsinc.com